Hey guys, it's me, Ashley, coming on. Hi, how are you? How's it going? For those of you that don't know me, I am a higher self channeler. I come on here on God's plan because ever since my second coming came back on, that's all I've been on is God's plan. And just like you guys, we're all on this plan. And I bring this up today specifically because that's what I wanted to talk about. Not God's plan, but so much to say that we have to realize that I was being told in the last days to bring these things up. And simply being that I feel that Father wanted me to relay the experience I had in regards to the topic I'm talking about right now. Because I feel like this message is for somebody. I don't know who, or maybe it's for many. But really what I wanted to say first and foremost is that for those of us out there that feel like God is asking too much of us in this time, or for those of you that feel like you can't actually fulfill the askings of the Spirit and of God, and you feel like maybe you're being put into a test, and I'm not talking about a test of strength, I'm saying a test of faith and structure to who you are in this moment right now. I was being relayed this by my God. I would say it was 2 nights ago, and the thoughts kept coming in over and over again. And the line was something along the lines of like, without God, our lives flatline. So in a sense, what that was bringing me back to was my own personal situation. And then I got this overwhelming feeling that God wanted me to relay this to people, because this is truly a story where I feel like salvation and where to fall is truly met. So why I think I was being shown this is because maybe right now there's a lot of people in a crux situation, and I was in a crux situation. One where I felt like I would change everything that I was, and it was terrifying. Terrifying. It was one of the most terrifying moments of my life. And the thing is now that when I was asked to do the similar thing, I believe, I didn't have that fear in my heart anymore at this stage. And I mean this from like 2 different time frames of like 13 years apart. And I'm being shown and told to bring this message to somebody out there, because in a way, if I can show you where I fell and how I misstepped, maybe you can avoid this, or if you hear me now, you might make a different decision. And I think that's why Father was reiterating these types of things. And if you guys want to see, I wrote them all down. It was just like I was just in a moment of time where I got these messages, so they all correlated. And then I was reminded of my own situation, so there is a relation that I think is here for somebody. So in my past self, I was asked by God to either make a choice. I had a choice to either take on my mission at that time. And what I mean by mission is that you will get to a point where Spirit God, and in my instance, it was actually a physical formation, was telling me that if I didn't take it on, that my lineage would, okay? So the thing was that I was quite young. I was maybe 21, 22 years old, okay? And what took place was that I decided at that moment to create a whole other decision, which ultimately was a no, but it was an arrogant, boisterous, and seemingly childish decision, okay? Because when I was put in that position, you have to understand, I knew nothing about what I had to do. And this is what I will say, is that if God is putting you in a mission or in a life path or a destiny, let's say, you are not going to know where the destiny will lead you, okay? And I was in that position where it was like I had no clue where it was leading me to. I had seen a lot of things, so please understand that by most standards, I should have been the one to have that faith, right? And however, in my personal last time of ascending, I refused to participate in God's plan for me at the time. Now, you have to imagine that my arrogance was what fueled it, but it was really my underlying fear. My underlying fear of not knowing where the road was going to lead and not feeling like God was the driver in that car, let's say, of life. So when I refused that, I was never to know how much it distanced me, not only from God, but from myself. And why I'm bringing this up is because the next message I got was, stop thinking you know better than God. So, and the thing is that I also asked to Father, Mother, like, are you referring to myself? And resoundingly, it was not. It was the fact that I was being reminded of my past version of self to relay this message right now. And I need to express this, that in my past self, when I refused, I was fueled by anger. I was fueled by anger because of several things. Because I felt like I had already given up enough, you know, that I had already done some good deeds enough to not have to bear that cross, so to speak. I remember thinking that I had a handle, or I had an actual, like a control over my destiny. I was so arrogant to think that little old I, even though I was suffering from so much, what's the word I could put it in? Like, I was a self-conscious person at that time. I was a person that was not fueled by pure self-love. So for me to be as arrogant to say that I knew better than God was one of the biggest, like, I don't even know how to explain. I literally felt like I spit on God's proposal at that moment in time. And trust me, it scorched my soul when I did that. But it was my fear that fueled it. It was my fear of not knowing where God was going to lead me that led me to say no to this blessing. Okay? And the thing was that because I was so arrogant, I ended up saying no and not knowing even, hear me, I was terrified of not knowing where the road led, but I did not know that I was going to be thwarted on a totally different road with no roadmap either. Okay, get the ironicity, get the, you know, the poetic justice in that. Hear me. So if there is somebody right now that this message is for, please know that I have been there and I've gone and I have fallen myself. When people talk about fallen angels or those that fall, or like even someone's soul, I truly feel like in that moment in time back then, my soul fell. Because it was not that God gave up on me. It was that I gave up on myself, ergo my path with God. So in that moment, I also banished myself to the depths of hell, let's say, in a sense, in my own soul. That's exactly where I was, because I didn't think I was worthy of even saying God's name after what I did. So I feel like I was being shown this message to relay this to somebody so that you understand that I do know both sides. I know what it's like to follow the path and know how terrifying it is. I know that you're going to be called and asked to do things that you can't even fathom you would do, because of how many elements in your life would shatter, or how many elements in your life would no longer be the same. And I don't mean like same, little same. I mean big same. I mean like you're taking off on flight to be like the superhero of the world because you don't know where the road's leading, right? There were so many things that went through my head at that time that I was being asked to like make these calls in my life that I had no idea about. And the reason why I think that I said no also back then was because I didn't have the type of faith I have now. But what I will say, the reason why I have the faith I have at this present moment right now is because of the mistake I made back then. Wholeheartedly. Because I got a true teaching of what it means to have faith. And the thing that I will say is that there is a passage in the Bible, I forget which one, and maybe I should look it up and plug it in, where it speaks to the idea of, oh my gosh, did I just lose my train of thought? No. It speaks to the fact, what was I saying? Arrogance. Sorry guys, just give me a second here. Arrogance, and then, speaks to the fact of arrogance. I think I lost my train of thought. That sucks. Fudge. Manajala Mazzetti. What was I saying? So yeah, like, okay, we're talking about God, knowing better than God. I was arrogant as fuck. Oh, yes. I just remembered. Yeah, okay. So there's this line in the Bible where it says that God will put you and seat you at a table where you will watch those that you've wronged rise, right? Or you will eat or feast at your enemy's demise, something to that effect, right? So for those of you that don't understand what it's like and why I think I was being shown the first message, right? Which was to say that without God, we flatline in our lives, okay? That message came through, and again, I was being shown my past self, and I totally relate to this, okay? Because when I let go of my destiny, when I let go of my God's planned path, okay, back then, my life went to a gray, flatline, lackluster existence. I was no longer amplified by the enrichment of my inner self. I was desperately clinging to the particles of my previous fervent soul self and my light that I encompassed within myself. And the shame and the guilt and everything compounded to ensure that I never found a true happy existence outside of that of like vice-induced coma-see. I don't know how to put it, but it was like I just didn't have the fervor. I just didn't have the proper existence. I just didn't have any, like, I was lifeless in a sense once I let go of my destiny back then, okay? So you have to understand that I do know what it means to lose that. And then what happens is that you end up getting to this flatline stage where you're just so miserable with yourself that you let it go. The actual agony you feel is something that cannot be expressed, because the thing is, it's like as if you had the most beautiful dream happen for you and then it got taken away. Now, why I say that line from the Bible is so eloquently expressed is that what took place after the fact of that happening to me, and why I'm talking about this is for somebody. I know it in my gut. Like, I know this is for somebody, because I would not have been shown this all together like this. The next thing to take place in my life after saying no, not only did I feel like I was stripped of my powers, because I don't know if it was like a self-imposed prison that I created for myself once I made that decision, which was an arrogant, asinine, ridiculous freaking thing to do. But I felt like as if I controlled my own existence, like as if I had a say in it all, or as if I was strong enough to outwit the most powerful force in the universe. Duh. But I did it. I said no. Flat out. It was like something I thought about for a moment, and then it was like everything washed away from me. Because what I didn't realize back then was that God in you, or the I am, is you. It's like once you shut yourself down, like when you're being called to your highest calling, like that's in a sense like God is like laying out the golden existence for your life. And for you to shoot that down means like you're shooting yourself, like literally like a shotgun to your abdomen, and just like that's basically what you're doing. Because it is like God and I am, or the I am God aspect in all of us is so us. Like, it's just us. It's like, I can't even describe. It's like everything we are. So it's like when you deny this part of yourself, you end up injuring yourself on so many fronts. And it's not even something that God put forth on you. It's something you do yourself because you realize, like, it's you that injured yourself. So why this message was so profound, because if I could stop one person from making this mistake that I did, I am telling you, you do not want to go this direction. You do not. Because also, aside from sheer miserable, like, degraded vibrational existence you go into, like what we will call a everlasting funk, okay? Because it's like as if, like, you just got stripped of everything. You're bare naked in the world again, in a sense, because if you understand, like faith in self of God is like, I don't know, man, it's like a warm cape of goodness that, like, makes you understand your, like, place in the world, etc. It gives you such a strong footing, and you're like a rooted tree in the earth when you know who you are and where you stand with God. You know what I mean? So if you are someone who is at this moment in time and doesn't think that they can give up whatever God has got planned for you, please know the other way is worse. Way worse. So also what took place for me is I had to watch someone rise and show me exactly every little thing I missed out on. Funny, right? So not only did I step away from the kingdom, you know, shame in one hand and regret and guilt in the other, you know, I lived every day with this aimlessness again, feeling disconnected. And I know people may think that in certain books, etc., that this concept does not happen. It can happen to us. Yes, it can. Anyone who's done a very shady thing in their lives knows exactly that that comes with the consequence of sin. And sin, to some people, is more like something that's outside of themselves, but it's really not. You can injure yourself with your own sins because you are a conscious being of spirit. You know where the barometer of bad and good fall on. So it's like in instances, you are your own judge to your own feeling. That's why they call it a consciousness. Like consciousness is like you are aware of what the median understanding is of right and wrong. So then it's like when you inflict pain on others, you feel it in some degree. That's if you have feelings in a heart. Most of us do. But what I will say is the last thing I got was that a lot of us feel like we get to these places simply because we feel like we've put in so much work. And then we feel like the fruits of our labor are not equating to what we believe we should have in God's great kingdom for ourselves. And I want to say this. I also was there back then too. But really and truly, all I was doing was actually ignoring what God set out for me, which would have been way more glorious. And I know that because I got to watch the person live a freaking good life. An amazing life. And had I maybe followed my own, I would have been there too. But I didn't. So what I'm trying to say is that even if you are somebody that is in this situation where you're like, I don't know what to do about my faith. I don't know if I can do what I'm being called to do. I don't know. Please, please, I hope somebody hears me now, simply because if I could have really heard a different perspective, or maybe if I had seen myself at the time that I was being asked, it would have made me think a little different. Because really and truly, you will be subjected to seeing where and what you were supposed to become in front of your eyes. And when that time happens, you will be at that table. You know what I mean? Having to watch it all take place, having to watch your dreams cascade in a different direction in somebody else's hands. And it is one of the most disheartening feelings to have to experience that. But also at the same time, there is a level of gratitude that you're still alive, and, you know, you are just living that mediocre, you know, fruitless, flavorless life that's flatlined. You still got that. I'm telling you, man, it's not worth it. So if you have tasted what it's like to be in God's glory, and you are debating right now, don't let the glory slip away. Don't let it all fall apart because of fears. I really hope someone hears me today, because this was so profound. Because you have to understand that I battled this for years. And I, by the grace of God, am standing here again, reconnected, re-fervored, reanimated into this existence, because now, because of slumming for so long back then, and just going to the most depraved places that a soul may ever get to, because it's so different. Like, if you're somebody who is in search of soul or in search of connection, right? There is that version of self. And let's say, for example, you're somebody who's more soully inclined and you've been on the spirit journey for some time. These perplexing asks can come at any time. And the thing is that when that railroad time comes, because you're somebody who's spiritually inclined that may and should know better, as I should have known better, simply because of how much I saw, you know, my fear still overtook me. That's the truth. And the thing is that it doesn't matter how much you've seen or how spiritual you are. Fear is fear. So if you're hearing me now, let me tell you, you're still going to end up with that same crux that I ended up in. And I ended up with the actual fear playing out in my day-to-day. Because my fear was to not know where the road went, right? With God's plan, like, where would it go? What would happen to me? Would I end up, you know, chained to the Vatican, trying to ask the Vaticanos if I could get the books of the library from down under out? Was I going to end up, you know, homeless and preaching the word? Was I like, I had no clue what God was going to ask of me. And that unknowingness that God will always put you in, because that's what faith is based on. It's on the fact of not knowing what God's asking you to do. That's the whole point of it. But really and truly, fear will always make you think that it's something else. It's really not. It's you saying, you know what? Me and God, we got this. This is our plan. This is our life to share together. And whatever comes my way or your way, God's got me. That's faith. That's the plan. So if you're somebody who wants to veer off of that plan, please know that you're going to be met with the exact fear of why you're not doing it in the first place. Because that's how I feel God wanted me to relate this. Because that is what happened to me, and it seemed like that was the message God wanted me to put out. I don't know if anyone's in this position right now, but I do want to say that whatever your fear is, you're going to play it out anyways. So no, you better be on the right side and the right team. It's better to do that than to be in the muck and the dirt and the dust of the other side of that same equation. So there's that. And with that said, that was the message that God wanted me to put forth today. And I truly feel like it's a very important one. And I don't know who for, but I know that it's so weird to say this, but I feel like in this moment that I'm telling this story, it's like I feel as invigorated as I did when I wrote these 3 things 2 days ago. It was so invigorating. Like, I feel like there's somebody right now on this video that knows exactly what I'm talking about and is going through this right now. And I just pray that you don't do it. Because I can't even begin to tell you the freaking levels of hell you'll go to. And I'm not talking about of a place. I'm talking about how the world around you will transform into, you know, seedy people, seedy situations, really down low ways of existing because you don't have any faith in yourself and you feel like a piece of shit for what you've done, especially if you're somebody that's inclined, that knows already. Please hear me, because this is necessary. If you do like what I'm saying, please like, please share, please subscribe. Love you guys lots. Thank you. Bye.